Welcome to the Best Kept Secrets podcast, where we share our best kept secrets about life, love, God, and everything in between. Hi guys, welcome to episode 6 of season 4 of the Best Kept Secrets podcast, where we share our best kept secrets on God, love, life, and everything in between. Thank you for coming back for yet another episode. If you're listening to us on our audio platforms, hi. If you're watching us on YouTube, hi too, please. Today, we're having a very interesting conversation on a topic we really like to have here on this podcast, which is friendships. But we're talking about friendship breakups. And today we have a lovely guest with us who is no stranger on this podcast. She was actually our MC for our live experience where we talked about all things friendship. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. So hi.
Hi.
What's up?
I don't know why my voice wants to make a disappearance. This is not the time. Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for having me. I'll introduce myself. My name is Stephanie Nganga. I'm a creator, a storyteller, an event host, and the host of my baby, the SNS. Sharon has come on the SNS before.
I have been on
so
the
I'm
SNS,
happy we've made the crossover
here.
finally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so Steph was our event host,
Yeah.
MC for the live experience we had last year in December.
Yeah.
And there was a small part where we talked about friendship breakups.
Yeah.
And I saw you nodding your head prosperously, very aggressively. You're like, yeah, I am feeling that deep in my soul.
Never have I felt more seen and heard.
So I was just like, yeah, when we finally have this proper conversation, because that was just a small snippet.
Yes.
I definitely thought of you. So I know you've had an experience with a friendship breakup.
Yes.
Please tell us more. And not the exhale. She said,
So when you called me for this, I was thinking to myself whether I have had that many friendship breakups. I would like to think we can categorize them.
Yeah.
So I feel like there are those that they just I wouldn't say they fizzle out because of circumstance. So for example, the friends that I had in high school that I genuinely thought, these are my ride or die.
Forever.
These are my people, and then now I don't even know anything that's going on in their lives. So they just fizzle out of circumstance. And then I think there are those that happened way later in life that were just like quiet quitting. So it's more like over the course of the friendship, maybe you start to realize maybe we're not so attuned with each other, maybe we're not so aligned, our interests are no longer similar, and so we just stop talking.
Drift.
But it's nothing like
No
there's no
beef.
beef. Yeah. And then now they're the beef ones.
Yeah.
And those ones. Oh, Jehovah. I don't know if you've seen that meme for the babe who's being driven in a car and she's holding the thing and she's like, oh, atakuniwa. And I know we often say like a relationship breakup, of course it hurts as well, but those friendship ones, and God forbid if you never even saw it coming. So I know there's probably one people are alluding to, that it's a constant conversation. I always say in that regard that, the other person has their own, it's their prerogative. They could share, it's within their right to experience and share their story as is mine. So I think my experience it's been very, what is the word? It culminates a lot of things. There's the quiet quitting ones, the fizzling ones, and then there's one that we're still healing from. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've also had all three, and I love these categories. I've never really given them names, but I know of them, and I know, the quiet quitting. I know the ones you just drift apart because maybe you were in school together, you don't see each other every day like you used to. You don't work in the same office anymore. So over the years, I've had those. The funny thing is that recently one of my friends found like a list I had written of babes who are going to be my bridesmaids. Let me tell you, girl, like I've been ready to be a wife since I came out of my mother's womb. So I had written this list years ago when I was still in uni, and she found it, she took a picture, she sent it to me. So funny enough, out of the 9 names I had written, only 3 I don't speak to anymore, but the 6 or 7 actually, I think
that's very commendable.
Yeah, actually the only 2 that I don't speak speak to, but
Yeah.
only because we drifted.
Yeah.
There was no beef, there was nothing. There was actually nothing. We just kind of drifted, and
Yeah.
when we see each other, it's cool. When we talk, we talk.
Yeah.
But I had one of those heartbreaking, gut-wrenching ones last
Fighting
year.
for your life.
Fighting for my life. And I shared this in the live experience, and I was just like, why am I crying like this?
Sincerely
Because of a
speaking.
woman, because of another girl. So I don't know if you're open to sharing more about this
Specific experience.
one.
That's an interesting question. I feel like I've been asked this question before, but often I choose not to without giving. I don't usually want to say too much, because I feel like if I share the intricate details of what happened, I take away her agency to do the same. Or
Okay.
I don't want it to be like, you said
Yeah.
it first.
Yeah.
So what I will say is, I think it was a big misunderstanding, and because I have my prerogative and agency to share the much that I can hear, I genuinely, one, did not see it coming, and two, to this date, I don't know what
You
is
don't
this that I
understand.
did that
Okay.
was, why am the villain in your story? So I don't know why I'm the antagonist in the story to this day. It's very confusing, it's very ambiguous, it's neither here nor there.
So you've never had a closure conversation?
I attempted to,
Okay.
and it went horridly south, where we're probably going to get into this later, and I'm going to expound, but something I've come to realize is sometimes processing emotions does not always need a communication, because when you are trying to, often the reason is you're trying to either feel heard or seen, or you want your feelings justified, validated, and then when that response doesn't come, the amount of self-doubt and just heartbreak that you shall experience after. So in regards to whether I received a closure conversation, I think sometimes closure is so elusive. It's like we're constantly chasing something that I don't even know if you understand what you want from me or what you need from me. So no, the conversation happened, but it didn't make any progress.
It didn't help. Okay.
Truthfully, it shouldn't even have happened in the first place.
Okay, I get that. And I actually have been internalizing this quote that I saw, and that it said, growing up is realizing that you can forgive people without an apology. So yeah, that one, like, I've been like, because I've been oh girl, like, you know, sometimes you wait for an apology and
you will
never comes.
It will never come,
and then so you end up living your life just like holding things inside. But when you realize forgiveness is more for you than it is for the other person, it's just so that you lift that weight off of your shoulders and you get to move on with your life. So follow-up question would be, how do we know it's time for the friendship to end, to break up? How do we know it's time for a friendship breakup?
I'm going to say this because I know it's not something that is uniquely particular to even just friendship breakups, but you always know. You know, it's a hashtag, if you know, you know. Recently something happened to me. It's not even about a friendship breakup or anything, but I felt something. I felt a shift. I felt an energy. I felt something. And somehow I was trying to gaslight myself into thinking, because I realized I tend to overthink, it's probably all in my head, and then I was proven right. So I feel like intuitively, more often than not, you always have a feeling. You always know. I think another reason I would say is, if you feel like your needs are not particularly being met in this friendship, then that's the perfect time to just walk away from the situation. We don't need to villainize or blame anyone and make it a whole fiasco. But I think the two things for me, it would be if my needs are no longer being met, and more often than not, I already start to feel it.
Okay, I wrote, if there's accountability that is not being taken up. So maybe you guys have been having fights or disagreements, and you try to have a conversation about it, and there's no accountability. It's just, you know, no one is trying to say, okay, I take up accountability, I did wrong here, I apologize. Then that's for me. I just be like, okay, no
that's
point.
a good one.
I also wrote, if you're always fighting,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's seasonal, where you have like, some tension with a friend, and you have disagreements over a couple of, just a season. But then if it's always been the characteristic of your friendship that you guys always fight,
it's almost monumental.
Yeah. If you are in a relationship, a romantic relationship, where you always fought with your man, would you be there?
And that's the funny thing, like, we don't give the same agency to friendships, and especially among women. But that's a story for another day.
So I also wrote, if there's a lack of reciprocity. So if it's always been like there's been a lack of, and I think actually one of the thing with women is that we don't expect anything from our friendships. When you're dating a man, you expect something, or you expect him to treat you a certain way, or to do certain things for you. But with female friendships, we're just like, nah, we just exist. And so you're the one who's sacrificing your time, your effort, your energy, maybe even your money, all of these things, but then there's nothing you're getting back. I would say maybe those could be grounds for ways to part.
A dissolution of a friendship.
So we usually share at the end of the podcast, we share our best kept secrets on the conversation. But for this episode, I would like for us to share throughout the episode.
Okay.
So I know you have like some things,
some notes,
some things you wrote.
Yes. I'm such a notes person.
Same.
If Apple took away this feature, I don't know where my thoughts would go. So I think I can see the first one was, and this is from, I'm not only in therapy because of things that have happened in my life, but also just the experiences have led me there. And I saw something on Twitter, but let me start with with my first best kept secret. You establish boundaries before and not after the fact. I'll give context. I'm very big on tone, and sometimes people are always like, you need to be a big person, why are you being so sensitive, but for me it's always how you said it and not even what you said, because I will remember how it was delivered more than even what was being delivered. So I am very particular on how I like to be spoken to, even in times of conflict. If I don't tell you even at the beginning of the onset of the friendship, Sharon, I know this is a great friendship, but should there ever be conflict, I would like for me to be addressed this way. Not I wait for the conflict to happen, and then now in my situation, and even just not in relation to this particular one, it would be, I know how I would like to be spoken to. Like, even when it's happening, I know this is what I want to be addressed, but I keep quiet about it. And it happens again, I keep quiet. So by the third time now, when I come to you to be like, by the way, I don't think, to the other person, they're like, why didn't you mention this earlier? And they won't even have the same level of severity or seriousness that they think it is, because you've already been accepting it. So why stop now? So establish boundaries before and not after the fact. And also in the same line, and this was now the tweet, as long as your empathy is stronger than your boundaries, you're gonna stay in therapy. You're gonna have someone different sending you back there. So boundaries.
That's so good. Again, I don't think that we know to have boundaries with romantic relationships, but do we know that we need to have boundaries with female relationships as well? Not always. I
think people assume it's like a given, like Sharon knows.
Thing.
She knows.
I don't know. Tell me.
You said fungua your sauti.
Tell
your sauti.
me.
So that's my first best kept secret.
My first would be, friendships aren't always easy, and that's okay. Just determine if it's worth fighting for. Like, I have certain friends that, like, girl, I will ride and die, I will fight for this friendship, we will try make it work. And then maybe you have other friends who are just like, I've always felt some type of way. I've always been unsure, so I don't know if this is even worth fighting for. Same with relationships. You always know this relationship, I can't let it go. Like, I'm gonna do my best to fight for it until I can't fight for it anymore. I think also people assume that friendships automatically are easy, and some are easy, but not always. You will have conflict, you will have differences, you will have situations that will arise. So it's just, just being like, okay, I feel like this is worth fighting for, and we're going to figure it out. I will forgive where I need to forgive. I will hold accountable where I need to hold accountable, or I'll take accountability where I need to. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's an interesting one. And I think even just to piggyback what you were saying, how not all of it's not what is that, monolithic, it's not a one size fits all. Because Sharon and I gel so well means Bridget and I will gel similarly together. So I think also something I used to do in my romantic relationships was mirror the best parts of this relationship in this one, and then when it doesn't fit, I'm losing my mind. And then
okay, what would be your second one?
Okay, let's get into my second one. Maybe I can now go back to the one for processing your emotions does not always need, or does not always equate to you having to communicate them outwardly. You just have to learn to internalize some things, like you process them internally. And here I've written, because I realized that I used to think, so every single emotion that I have, I need to be able to express it. And then when I do, I would almost, my emotions or feelings would be invalidated under the guise of seeking validation of that understanding from now the other person. So there's something here I've written, even just not expressing to the person who hurt you, even when you're seeking understanding from others, when you get advice that is not particularly resonating to your experience, now on top of what you are already feeling, so you feel hurt or betrayed or whatever, then now you're feeling misunderstood. Exactly. So I think just learning to internalize those emotions or just process things internally, and that doesn't mean that I avoid them or I sit on them and we're just like, you know what, if it's not here then it's not here. But it also just allows room for you to establish your thinking patterns. That was another thing that I needed to realize about myself. I don't know if this is me throwing myself under the bus or just like, these are my flaws, take it or leave it.
Tell us everything.
Something called cognitive distortions. So basically it's like your thinking pattern. So there are people who they extrapolate anything small becomes something huge, or people who catastrophize. Now I'm the type of people,
I also catastrophize.
I'm just like, this is the end, we are doomed, Armageddon is here, see you in hell, good morning Arcadias. That's me, like everything is going to hell. So even amidst dealing with a friendship breakup or breakups, even in therapy, that was something I realized, like where my thinking pattern goes immediately south. But even in the same breath, something I wanted to touch earlier was we need to normalize expectations, especially when there are patterns. So in context, I used to feel like, say for example, we have established a pattern of communication. So either we FaceTime every day, or we have a call every day, or we meet once a week, and then that doesn't happen. And then now often you're going to be told you shouldn't expect anything from anyone. Nobody owes you anything. But actually you should expect those things because there was like an established pattern. So that's also and it brought so much clarity and peace of mind, because the number of times I've sat in therapy and I'm like, am I losing my mind? Or what is this that I'm doing wrong? So I think so long as there was a pattern, then it's normal for you to have an expectation.
You know, when you're a low maintenance person, you generally don't expect anything from anyone. So that's why, you know, you lose your mind, because you're just like, but there is a pattern and there are things that they do for me. So why has it just like
why
gone?
is there like a retraction?
So you start to feel like maybe I'm asking for too much, or all of these things. So let's not be low maintenance people. It's okay to expect things from other people, because you also give them things.
And the reason why you expect quote unquote so much from people is because more often than not you're willing to do that and much more for them. Take us to church. So that would be mine.
My second one would be some are just seasonal friendships. It's not that deep. You have just evolved apart, which I think we've already kind of touched on in the beginning. But we also touched on this in the episode we did. We've done another episode on friendships with Nyawera and Wanjiru and my friend Dwani. And we were just saying, sometimes it's just not that deep, like we were saying earlier. Sometimes it's just that you've drifted apart and you've just evolved away from each other, and that's okay. Not every friendship breakup needs to be horrifying and a catastrophe and you're losing your mind and you're crying and all of these things. Sometimes it's just okay, they were here for this season and I'm not carrying forward with them anymore, and that's okay. Give them grace to exit your life, or give yourself grace to exit their life as well.
So I'm going to take us to church. There's a Bible verse. It's one of my favorites. It's John 1:16. And it says, out of his fullness, we have received grace in place of grace already given. So even what you are saying, give people the grace to, the same way you give them grace to enter, give them the same grace to exit. I saw this TikTok. It was an interesting analogy. I didn't want to start by saying, I read this somewhere and it's a TikTok.
It's okay. Reference the TikTok.
But in this TikTok, this guy was explaining, it was an interesting analogy of how he views friends like moving parts of a house. So he was saying there are friends who are like windows. These are the people who they see what is going on into your life, but they never really come in. So basically they're just there, same way we see windows all the time. We just see them, we see through, but we don't know what's going on. And then we have door friends. So these are the people who they walk in, but at the same time they can also walk out. So now these are the seasonal friendships. Like they come in for serve their purpose and then they leave. And then now you have your floor friends, because the floor, it don't move. So now these are your ride or dies, your for lifers. These are people who see you through the motions of life. So since then I've just been categorizing. I'm like, this is a window, this one is a door, you are a floor.
Not the window.
In that order.
Yeah. That's so good. I've actually learned something recently in therapy. I'm back in therapy.
Woo!
So
praise
the Lord.
be. What did you do it?
I learned something recently about how sometimes we determine the future before we get into the thing. And what you're saying is so good, because sometimes you get into a friendship and you think this is a flaw, this is a for lifer, we're dying together, we're going to be grandmas together, our children will be friends and all of these things, when really maybe they're just supposed to be there for that season, and that's okay. So don't be so quick to determine the future of this friendship. Stay in the friendship and then figure out, okay, this one, the way she shows up for me, or the way our dynamic is set up, this one is a window, this one is a for lifer, this one is a door, she's just here, and that's fine. So that's a good analogy.
So go and put your friends, windows, doors, floors, this side. But I'm like, I cannot see you today, you are a window friend. Stay there.
But when the floor calls you, you're like, I'm on the way, I'm coming right now.
Say less. Code red. I think another one, this one it's a brief point, but so in context of my friendship breakup or breakups, when someone, I don't like it when I like the sense of having power and agency or some form of control. But when it's taken away from you, when someone decides, do you know how saying the door was already shut? Like I felt like the conversation was pointless anyway. So, and when I have encountered such instances, more often than not, I just choose to not communicate, because I'm like, but what is the point really? I remember even in another instance, my therapist was like, so why didn't you communicate how you felt, or why were you so keen on managing your reaction rather than just communicating how you felt? And I was like, the decision had already been made for the both of us. There was a lot of finality to it. So I sat there and I was like, why are we going to sit? This conversation is already hard enough, so why must I now start saying, okay, so now even me, this is how I feel? And she was like, we don't communicate so that we change people, like we change that they'll think this way, or we'll change their minds or whatever. You just communicate. But it was coming from a place of, I don't know if the word is insecurity. So now the secret is to retrain your subconscious that your needs are worthy of being met. The same way Sharon can sit here and tell me, A, B, C, and D, I didn't like it when you did this and this. Instead of you managing your reaction and being like, okay, I was trying to be the understanding friend. I feel like, I hear you, I see you. So just trying to retrain my subconscious that my needs are very much worthy of being met. Whether or not me communicating them changes anything. So
yeah, that's so good. And even, when we think about it in a romantic context, if you're an understanding girlfriend, then when your man does you dirty, you're just like, yeah, okay, I see where you're coming from, blah, blah, blah. But you won't really fight for yourself and stand up for yourself and say, my needs here were worth being met, and you didn't meet them, and this is how I feel. So we don't realize that those same dynamics. Are you anxiously attached?
Very.
I can tell. I know my anxious sisters when I see them.
It's probably written on
Yeah,
my head.
I know, I can see it.
Yeah.
So those same dynamics that you have in your romantic relationships will probably show up in your friendships.
Yeah.
So if you're a low maintenance girlfriend, you will also be a low maintenance friend.
Yeah.
If you're an anxious girlfriend, you'll be an anxious whatever.
Friend, yeah.
If you're an understanding girlfriend, you'll be an understanding friend. And sometimes there are women or in your friendships who notice that this is a babe who I know I can get anything from. I can walk all over her.
Yeah.
So if you don't stand up for yourself, people will walk over you. People will take advantage of you. And same for men. They always can tell this one. Yeah. So that's a really good point about just, affirming yourself that your needs are worth being met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irregardless of whether change happens, you just communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because my reason was hata nikisema. What was the reason?
What's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
Okay. Another point I wrote was determine the purpose of the friendship, and that will help you know how to treat the friendship.
Okay.
So, I think I've just been repeating this about how when you know what this friendship is supposed to do in your life, because everything that you do in life has a purpose, right? So friendships are very purposeful. We are built to exist in community. We're not built to just exist by ourselves.
Yeah.
So once you realize, okay, the purpose of this friendship is that she is going to be with me throughout my entire life, then you treat it as such.
Yeah.
If you realize the purpose of this friendship is that she's going to steward me through this, let's say you're getting married and she's already married, she's helping you through this time period, then you treat it as such.
Yeah.
But when you're just in your friendships for just vibes, then that's where there's agency for things to be mishandled, things to go left. But when you know the purpose of a thing, you treat it with intentionality, basically.
There's a reverence to it. But that's a good one, because I feel like the problems come in when you're expecting the friend for vibes to now be the friend holding you down. You're expecting the window to be the floor. Baby, the window can only see.
Yeah. And then now that leads to a breakup because, it's a thing. You're not feeling reciprocity. You're not feeling heard. You're not feeling... sorry.
No worries.
You're not feeling understood. You're not feeling all of these things. But then now when you know what the purpose is, then you just know... You avoid even getting to a point where you're in a breakup situation. Yeah.
Gems and secrets being spilled. Another one I learned was you don't get glory or a trophy or an award for healing in secret. So in my context, it was one of those ones where you don't want to involve other people because then now it starts getting, misconstrued or things just get misinterpreted. And I remember, and I also maybe wanted to gaslight myself into thinking, you know what, I'm fine. When I'm not fine.
Yeah.
So if you ask me how I am, just like, he just asked how are you. So you don't get an award for healing or a trophy for healing in secret. We need to also learn to reach out to now your additional friends or family for that support because you sincerely are going through it, friend, and it's okay. So I think for the longest time I was shelving a lot of things in and I'm like, you know what, it's fine. I'm okay. And then like on the outside you see me and I'm like, yeah, what's up? And then me and my two cats are wondering, ma'am, what in the heavens is going on?
Cats are looking at you like, girl, you okay?
There's good? Nothing as your pet watching you having a breakdown. Your pet is like,
yeah.
So when are we going to eat? That's the thing. So yeah, you don't get an award for healing in secret. Reach out for the support that you need. Yeah.
That's really good. And I just want to piggyback on that as well, because my healing phase from that friendship breakup was so tough. I booked a solo trip. I was just like, okay, I'm feeling like my brain was going to burst.
And it starts to manifest physically.
Physically.
Yes.
Girl, my eye twitched for a whole...
My chest?
Like, I had an eye twitch, I think, for 2 months. I would just be sitting and my eye would just be twitching.
Which is crazy.
It's
like,
just
I
a
don't
stress.
laugh.
Yeah, but literally, like, it was a stress response.
Yeah.
Because I'm also an overthinker. So I was overthinking. I was so stressed. I was all of these things.
Yeah.
So all of my other friends didn't like her. So they were just like, kind of like, girl, we told you, but you know
Like,
what I
we
mean?
saw this coming.
We saw this coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom didn't like her. Like, they were all just like,
girl.
"Si tulikuambia."
Even me, I don't like her now. Whoever you are. Yeah.
So I booked a trip. I went on a solo trip and I was just like, okay, God, me and you need to have a chat.
Yeah.
I'm pulling you for a chat. We need to
Yeah.
have a little meeting and you need to tell me what's up.
Yeah.
So I literally just went and I was just like, I don't want to feel these heavy feelings when I come back.
Yeah.
And I think I also really doubted myself and this decision I had made, because I'm the one who made the decision to leave the friendship.
Yeah.
And she still wanted to pursue it and whatever. And I started to doubt my decision and I was just like, it hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Does it hurt less to stay in the friendship or does it hurt less to leave?
Yeah.
Because right now I've left and it really hurts. So I went, I really just, I sat on the beach and I journaled and I prayed and I was just like, God, what's up? Because this is also someone that I saw myself being a for lifer. I had placed expectations on her.
She was the floor.
Yes, I had
Also we
placed.
thought.
Also, we thought I
Yeah.
had placed expectations on her and the friendship without actually giving the friendship time
Yeah.
to develop for me to know whether she is a for lifer or not. So I literally just went and I healed with God.
Yeah.
And I told God, me, when I come back from this trip, I don't want to be feeling these heavy feelings anymore. And I came back from the trip and just slowly,
Yeah.
like, the weight just started lifting off of me. I also, I was just like, I forgive for, all of the things
Yeah.
and that were said and that were done. But my point that I would want to add to yours is healed with God. If
Yeah.
you are going through a romantic relationship breakup, so you'll pray and you'll tell God
Like,
things.
please.
This sucks.
Yeah.
Like, this sucks and I'm tired of feeling like this. So when you're going through even a friendship breakup and those feelings are there, pray. Just pray, talk to God, heal with God. Like, it makes such a big difference. If you have a community, like you're saying, like,
Yeah.
don't heal alone, don't
In
struggle
secret.
alone.
Yeah.
But my friends are so nice because regardless of the fact that they were so over her and over that situation, they
Yeah.
still listened to me just rant about it and process it and
Yeah.
talk about it out loud, because I felt like I was tripping and I was losing my mind. Like, am I making this up? Did that really happen? Did she actually treat me like that? Or am I just like making it up?
Yeah.
So
Even you start to question I remember there was a time I was questioning my memory, because even when I was
Yeah.
telling you, when we did have a conversation, your recollection of events and mine are entirely different.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but things were being said or put, and it's like cause effect, and I'm like, but they're totally unrelated. So
Yeah.
when you were saying you're losing your, at this point I'm even surprised my mind is in the room with that. She left, she be going, she comes back, she's like, Ucha,
like, your reality just seems so, did that actually happen?
Yeah.
And I've been gaslit before, so I know now when I'm being gaslit.
Yeah.
But when it was happening, I was just like, wait, did that happen? So now my friends would be the ones to ground me and just be like, that happened. She
Yes.
did say that.
Yes.
That was the situation. Whatever you're feeling is valid.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that this wasn't the first time that this situation had happened
Within the friendship?
within the friendship.
Okay.
So there were just like this clearly a pattern here. That's when I was just like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Because you start to think that.
Friend. If I start to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
No, but I totally understand. So my next one was so this one is it was like a tough pill for me to swallow. Hey, flaws and all. That should be the episode of the title of this episode. Stephanie Nganga's flaws and all. I think for the longest time I struggled with self-love and like what that actually encapsulates, because like at least the portrayal of self-love in media is usually what are these bath bombs and
Yeah.
the
Spa, going to
spa
the
or
spa.
the trips and
Yeah.
stuff. But there's a podcast that I have been actively listening to. It's called Do the Work by Sabrina, I can't remember her last name, but if you just search it, you'll find it. And I've never watched an episode and felt so called out. I was like, guys,
why are you dragging me?
I said, not you dragging me for filth. And they're talking about how self-love truly is, how difficult it is. It is not the rosy stuff that we see.
Yeah.
And I'll quote Sabrina. She said, so it's self-love, but most especially compassion. So to have compassion for yourself, leave alone, especially when you're dealing with grief.
Yeah.
So the people who have compassion for themselves are able to hold seemingly two contradictory ideas. So for context, yes, the friendship can come to an end, but I will still find myself thinking about them. I'll still wonder how they're doing. But then I can miss them, but not want them actively back in my life, which is ideally, if you miss someone, you want them back.
Yeah.
But in this, that's what they say, people who have the most compassion for themselves or hold themselves to a high regard because of the self-love and the work they've done can hold two seemingly contradictory ideas. I miss you,
but it's okay.
And it's a difficult situation to be in, because there have been, I'll be honest, because I feel like sometimes people are like, the friendship breakup, and then I'm like, done, on to the next. But there are moments where I genuinely felt like an innate need to reach out, or to just rather say sawa basi makosa, because I'm also someone who things make more sense when it's my fault. So I'll be like, makosa ni yangu, I'll take the blame and we keep it moving. You know how you're saying, is it easier to stay in the friendship, or is it, or rather to leave, because the leaving, of course, is very difficult. So yeah, to just extend your self-compassion, especially when you're dealing with grief. And sometimes it's not made easy when, for example, in my case, we're both in the same space. And so like a lot of things are constantly coming up. So yeah, just extending myself that compassion, that I can miss you, I can still care for you, and I can still think about you, but I don't want you actively in my life.
I think that's a hard one, because
very difficult.
It's very difficult, because I think when you have those feelings for missing someone and whatever, the instinct is to just be like, okay, we can figure it out and whatever. It's hard to get to a point where you're just like, it's okay, I care for you, I want the best for you, but I don't think that our friendship is healthy and that it can work anymore.
That's it's one of the toughest pills to swallow, and especially when you have so many shared memories and there's a poem I came across, and I'm just praying to the heavens that I will find it, but it's about like what grief actually means. It's something about like the places that you go to. Just give me 1 second. Hey, I have found it. So the poem is by someone called Heidi Prieb, and it's titled, As Long as There's Love, There'll Be Grief. So she says, the grief of time passing, of life moving on half finished, of empty spaces that were once bursting with the laughter and energy of people we loved. As long as there's love, there'll be grief, because grief is love's natural continuation. It shows up in the aisles of stores we once frequented, in the half-finished bottle of wine we pour out, in the whiff of perfume we get 2 years after they've been gone. Grief is a giant neon sign protruding through everything, pointing everywhere, and broadcasting loudly that love was here, and in the finer print, quietly, love still is.
That's so good. Just the title, that if there's love, there'll be grief. Yeah, that's so. And I don't think we give as much weight to grieving a friendship breakup or losing a friend as much as we give for anything else. Because especially for women, like friendships, our female friendships are so dear to us. Like we hold them with such authority in our lives. So to lose that is, and to go through that grief is very hard, because we share so much, and so much love and so many memories with your friends and whatever. So yeah, that's really good. So question, which was kind of related to what your last point would be, is there a situation where there's possible reconciliation after a friendship breakup? And how do you know it's worth reconciling?
I think maybe I'd also just lean into my intuition, because all the times, Sharon, I promise, I have felt something, and then I go and I'm just like, you're probably overthinking it, and then I'm proven right. I'm like, you see? So I feel like my recent experience, and even outside of even just like in general in life, it has affirmed and reaffirmed that intuition so much. So now if I feel something, I'm like, for sure, I'm not losing my mind. I don't know if I've not, something like that has not happened particularly. Maybe in the instances of like the quiet quitting ones or the fizzling out ones where we reconnected. But even that one was, in my experience, it was by chance. It wasn't like a, hi, how have you been?
Yeah, let's hang out kind of thing.
As for like the painful one, because I've not experienced, I don't think I can speak for it. I don't know what would have to happen. I mean, we can forgive and forget, but I don't know if I can forget, or if I would be, because I feel like welcoming someone back into your life, it's okay, but I would hate to have to hold it over your head. Or I would hate for any other disagreement to be like, whoa, and as a catastrophizer, I'd be like, here we are again. I knew it. Y'all niggas.
Yeah.
I told y'all.
Yeah.
So such reconciliation to that extent has not happened for me. So I can't speak for it.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. I'm asking because I know, first of all, I listened to my sister's podcast, I think yesterday. Yeah, and they were speaking about reconciliation after friendship breakups. And I know that there are people who hope to reconcile with friends that they've kind of, ended things and whatever. In my experience, it didn't go well.
Yeah. Or you tried to reconcile.
Yeah, so we first, like, this same situation, we first, like, ended the friendship or kind of just, like, stopped. I stopped speaking to her because I felt like my boundaries were being disrespected. There were just, like, so many things that were happening. So I kind of just, like, took a step back and I stopped speaking to her, and she kind of just, like, accepted it.
Yeah.
That was years ago in, like, 2019. So we didn't speak for a whole year. So fast forward a year later, she got pregnant, and her husband, who is actually my original friend, I met her through her husband, invited me for her baby shower.
Interesting.
And I was just like, okay, the baby has never done anything to me. He's an innocent child.
Do you know that?
Yeah, like,
insecure when he says like them kids and she throws the baby.
I'm just like, the baby has never done anything to me. So I went for the baby shower. We reconnected. We had a good time, celebrated their wonderful child and all of these things. So we kind of started speaking again after that baby shower.
Was there a conversation that happened?
There was no conversation. There was no accountability. There was nothing for all. I know things like had ended in a bad way. Can we talk about it? Nothing. We kind of just like picked up from where we had left off. So initially we didn't go back hot and heavy. It was like a slow progression where I would see her ever so often. We would speak ever so often. But now the communication lines were open. But if I actually think back, she posted that she was pregnant. So I'm the one who sent her a message congratulating her. Then her husband invited me for the baby shower. So back then, like, I wasn't aware. I wasn't self-aware. I was just like, okay, cool, this is happening. So we speak ever so often, whatever. Then a couple of years later, we now started becoming a lot closer. I was seeing her more often. We were speaking like almost every day and all of these things. So when now the breakup happened last year, it was just what had happened in 2019 happening all over again. And there was a part of me, like you were saying, which was like, I told you this was gonna happen. Like, there's clearly a pattern here. And I wonder if we had a conversation in 2019, would this have happened? I don't know. Would I be willing to reconcile after that? I don't think so. I think now I'm at a point where I appreciate the friendship. I appreciate the years we spent together. I appreciate the things that I learned from her, because I learned a lot. I really, really learned a lot. She did add a lot of value in my life. But I'm at a point where I can appreciate the good times while also accepting the fact that there's no future for this friendship. So there's no desire in me to reconcile or anything. So I think if you're thinking of reconciliation, one, there has to be accountability taken. There has to be a conversation that is going to be had. And your closure conversation didn't yield any fruit, but if you have a closure conversation that yields fruit, then moving forward, now when you reconcile, there has to be a lot of intentionality and a lot of boundaries being respected. just so that this situation where you guys end up in another friendship breakup doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's like easy to reconcile after.
I will say
a hard time.
maybe shortly after, maybe let's say even as everything was happening, when it was happening, I did not think this was the end. I was just like, okay, we're probably gonna continue speaking at some point. And then in my instance, there was like, should I say, like outside parties being involved where they wanted to like step in and mediate. That also went horridly south. So at some point I felt like maybe we would reconcile, but then as we continue to progress and going through the breakup, and it couldn't have happened at a worse time, Sharon. Because I remember everything was happening simultaneously. My sister had left to travel for work. So I was also dealing with a lot of separation anxiety at the time. And then also now my partner. So it felt like, and even when you're asking about my anxious attachment style, there have been like feelings of, I'm oversharing. There have been feelings of like abandonment because that happened simultaneously when all of these things were happening, which they are very unrelated, but in my mind, everything is just intertwined. So at the time I thought maybe there would be possible, reconciliation or reconnecting or rekindling, resetting, all the re's. But as we progressed, I was like, I think even to just rebuild the trust. Because I'm just like, how am I supposed to say anything you say or your actions without feeling like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly.
And I'm going to constantly be on guard. So it hasn't happened for me. I don't know if it will, but I don't even know if I'm open to it or if I'm seeking it. Really, we just left things at that.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
But it's very confusing, and there's a time I was
is
like,
very
I'm tired.
Yeah.
When we have this running joke with my friends, so when you meet someone romantically and they're like, what are you looking for? The fuck away. Like I'm not even looking at this point.
I want nothing.
I'm legally blind.
Yeah.
So you think even in the context of friendships, these experiences sometimes have my guard up where I'm just like...
Especially the rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust is very hard when it's broken.
Yeah.
If the other party was the one on the wrong, or if you were the one on the wrong, you have to be ready to do the work to rebuild that trust for that friendship, so you guys go back to where you are, or even start afresh and whatever. It's hard, but I think it's possible. But sasa sijui tutakwambia nini. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know how to help anyone in that situation, but I think it's possible.
But I also feel like sometimes you just need some time to pass, because of course in the moment everything feels very gut-wrenching, but then weeks pass and it no longer feels as heavy as it did. The way you said you went on the trip, you came back and your heart wasn't as heavy as it was maybe the day you went on the trip. So time. And my sister always likes to say, you live. You live.
True. I feel like because we are at a certain age, when we get older, we look back and we're like,
really, my niggas?
Really?
Maybe I was a bit too melodramatic on that one. It was definitely not Armageddon, but in the moment, it
felt like it.
So you just honor those emotions throughout.
Do you have any last points?
Let's see if I have anything for the girlies. Actually, I think I said all. I said the expectations, the boundaries, the self-compassion. You train your subconscious to meet your needs. You don't get a glory award trophy for healing in secret. And processing doesn't always mean outward communication. Those were 6 secrets. I give you a bonus.
I think my last one would be to assess character, which I also had on the To My Sister's podcast. Once you assess the character of this person, and once Sharon wouldn't do that. It's much easier for you to fight for a friendship when you know the character of the person. But if there's been a glaring revelation of this is the way this person is
very much
set up,
capable,
right? This person is always giving you backhanded compliments. They're always being low-key mean to you. They're always, you know what I mean, those character
and
things you feel it.
Those
character things that cannot be changed, then you realize, okay, maybe this friendship is not for me. But if you know the character of this person, and you know she's a good person, maybe she's going through a season, or maybe this is just a season of our friendship, or maybe this is just one isolated incident or two isolated incidences, that helps you determine whether this friendship is worth fighting for or not. But character is so important, because it also helps you know whether this is someone you want in your life forever. Like when you have children, do you want your children to be around this person? When you get a man or whatever, can you leave this person around your man? And your other friends, like, is this someone you trust with your other friends? Is someone you trust with your heart? Right? So assess character and then move from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think my only question to that would be, because I feel like maybe on the onset, so I think the assessment happens over time.
Yeah, over time.
Over, when you meet people, it's best foot forward. Yeah. I'm here for you, I got you. And then somewhere along the lines, it's like,
it starts to
if you hate me, just say.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think I should take that into consideration.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sometimes very naive, where I'm just assuming everyone, we're cool peeps, you love me, I love you, we're good, twin, where have you been? And then we're definitely even not related. So
I completely get that. But with time, then you start to see the real character of someone, and their proven track record, that this person, like, she's like this or he's like this, and you know that, okay, this is someone that I can fight for, this is a friendship I'm willing to let go. You live, girl. You'll be okay. Right now, it feels horrible. Or maybe you're getting out of it, and your brain fog is starting to clear. And see, you've lived. And you'll be okay. And maybe you'll meet new friends. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll reconcile. Maybe you won't. Just pray about it. That's all I can say.
Take it to the Lord in prayer.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steph, for coming and sharing.
I feel so lighter. Oh, my therapist would be so proud. She's gonna be like, I'm usually in the session, like, say that slower.
I need to write that down. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with us.
I'm surprised I didn't cry. At some point, I was like, don't cry.
I saw it.
Don't do it.
And I was just like, if you cry, I'm crying with you. Now look, we're crying. What's up? Yeah.
We're fine, guys. I promise. We're fine.
Yeah, we're fine. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. I was told that I don't tell you guys to subscribe. My mom was just like, no, wambiangia was subscribe. Please, guys, for my mother, subscribe. If you're listening to us on Spotify or our other audio platforms, thank you for listening. And you'll see us or hear us in our next episode. Please tell us in the comment section what you thought about the episode, or any tips for healing a friendship breakup, or just talk to us. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye.